It's Jamie Foxx, and you're watching Jalen and Jacoby.
He is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We give the people what they want.
As the NBA gets closer to giving the people what they want, we will have many updates just like this one. It is time for the NBA Bubble Update. That's right. We have a brand new update from the bubble. This one comes courtesy of some of our colleagues, namely Windy, and he has given us some of the terms for players that will be joining the NBA bubble in Orlando. And let's take a look at those because they get kind of complicated. For one thing we learned, you cannot have a significant other or your family in the bubble for 6 to 7 weeks. Also, if you test positive, 7 to 14 days into quarantine. You see the other terms as well. Jalen, this seems pretty serious. What do you think about 6 to 7 weeks until your significant other can join you in the bubble?
This is going to be a unique time in the world based on the coronavirus, the pandemic, and us being forced to quarantine. Now, when it's time to go back to work, for you to be in the bubble for 6 to 7 weeks, people like you with 1 million kids would probably feel like that's a reason for celebration. But for the single guys to be there 6 or 7 weeks, that's going to be an issue, Jacoby.
Well, it's 6 to 7 weeks before. It's 6 to 7 weeks before you can even have your significant other join you. So this is just being alone for 6 to 7 weeks before your family can then re-enter the bubble with you.
Well, you're not alone. You're with your teammates. It's not like it's in an individual sport, but here's also what I want to make sure that I say. This is going to be a unique sacrifice that seems like punishment once you got a whooping and then you still can't go outside and you still can't use the phone, but you get to go to school. That's kind of what this is going to be like. But you got to get your check and you get a chance to play the game that you love. So this is a unique circumstance, and I think the NBA will find a way to get through it.
Well, there is one concession that the NBA is allowing the players in that bubble, and that is this, Jalen Rose. The NBA will be testing for performance-enhancing drugs, but no recreational drug testing in the bubble. No recreational drug testing in the bubble. What does that tell you about the bubble experience?
We got to eliminate the cameras. No TMZ, because everybody going to be from the room to the bar to the pool and rinse and repeat. And there's going to be a lot of smoke in the air. It's going to be a lot of smoke in the air.
The NBA bubble might have a lot more to do with bongs than it has to do with keeping the quarantine inside the bubble once you see that. Well, Jalen, not only is this a global pandemic, we also have national unrest in the fight for social justice. And Dabo Swinney came under some fire because one of his head coaches uses the N-word when coaching players. And he explained why he didn't fire him at the time. Let's listen to Coach Swinney.
And Coach Spearman was correcting DJ. He didn't do the right thing. I think DJ or another player was talking to DJ, or DJ was yelling at the player. And DJ, just kind of, said something he probably shouldn't have said. And he said, I blocked the wrong effing N-word. And Coach Spearman, thought he was saying it to him, and he's mad, and he reacted, and he basically, in correcting him, repeated the phrase. And he said, we don't say we blocked the wrong effing N-word. And he repeated it. And he shouldn't have done that. There's no excuse for even saying that. It doesn't matter what the context is. But there is a big difference. He did not call someone an N-word.
Interesting. What do you think about Dabo's explanation?
Dear white people, and I know you understand this, David Jacoby. Dear white people, I have to tell you something. Whether it's a job interview, whether we're in a classroom, whether you're listening to rap music, you might even be at a concert. In particular, when you're in the presence of black people, you're not allowed to do two things. One, tell us and legislate to us how to use the word. And number two, you should not be using it. If you want to practice singing a rap song in the shower at home when nobody's around, that's totally up to you. If you want to mumble it when you're at a concert, when you think it's only white people around, that's up to you. But as an adult that's getting paid And Dabo, you're the leader of men, and this is your student athlete. That term should not be used by one of your coaches. He should have got disciplined for that.
I mean, I agree with Dabo to a certain point. There is context that is important. There are sort of different levels to using that word, but using that word alone is wrong and does deserve discipline. Like, it's just a fact. And also, I want to disagree with you about one thing. If you're a white person and you're alone in the shower, don't say it then either. Just build good habits. Just build good habits. Moving on, something else that has to do with Clemson and other colleges around our nation that is coming into the light in this unrest is sort of some of the iconography and some of the names that are used on campus. And most recently, Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins have pointed out that Clemson uses Calhoun, a gentleman who was pro-slavery and was once a vice president of this nation before the Civil War. And we also have DK Metcalf, who's asking for a statue to be taken down at Ole Miss. And there are others voicing some of their feelings about the heritage that is expressed through some of the iconography on their campuses. Do you think that this movement can address that and make some real change moving forward?
I believe so. Just think about it like this. We're in an information age. That should make you wiser. That should now be the catalyst to your thinking and your decision making. I'll do something for you in layman's terms. A couple of different teams that play in the nation's capital. One used to be the Bullets. Realized that at some point with the crime that was happening in Washington, D.C. and throughout our country, that probably shouldn't have been the name of our team. So they changed it to the Wizards. Now look at the football team. They have an offensive name, but they haven't changed it. That's the difference, Jacoby. We have the information now. So do these players. And yes, we're allowed to be on the field and catch touchdowns and throw touchdowns and perform. But what about the statue of somebody that was a slave owner that I have to walk past with my books on a college campus and ignore? So now that we have that information, it's time to institute change. I'm glad to see these athletes using their voices.
And I think that is important. We talk about athletes and their role and using their voices on this show a lot. And something like this is a direct connection to change that they want to see happen. And I think that's what's important during this movement and during this unrest and during this focus on our racial history and our racial modern current state is that we need some change. We need police reform, and we need to change the way police are funded. We need to change corporate hiring practice and get diversity through all ranks of not just corporate structure, but all jobs. Another thing is some of this iconography and some of these people from our American history that are celebrated with statues, with buildings named after them, and things of that nature. We need to readdress what that means to our whole society as a cross-section. Should it have come to this to look at it? Probably not. But now that while we are here, I think these are some real things that we need to see changed in our society. And I think that an athlete does have a role in stepping up and saying something to make that happen. But I really want to ask you a question. In your opinion, do you really think that these changes are going to happen on these campuses?
I believe they're going to happen. And here's why. And you can take what I said about Dabo with a grain of salt. But you know who's going to be paying attention? Parents and high school players. And they're going to start now after this awakening, realize, am I just an athlete on a large campus that's a money-making cow to promote myself? Maybe I should start looking at other options. And you're going to see that happen. We talked about that on this show. There's going to be an NBA, there's going to be a high school prospect in basketball that potentially goes to an HBCU. And you know what? His mom did too. So he's raised with that level of social conscience. And that's what I would like to see happen throughout society. Continue to lift one another.
And now it is time for News That Matters. Well, Dana White was on First Take and he announced the location of Fight Island. Jalen, Fight Island will be in Abu Dhabi. Interesting. Jalen, NBA bubble in Orlando, Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. Which one are you picking?
NBA by slam dunk. I am not trying to take no long flight with a mask and a shield where I can't eat, drink, or sleep. Number one. Number two, to be on an island where somebody else might catch it and or something may happen in the country where I get stuck on that island. I'm not going to be able to do it. And then the other thing, when you go to that island, that means you're not taking your family. I mean, you're probably not going to have your friends. You're not going to have your loved ones. No. I'm not going to be able to do it. Keep me on U.S. soil. Take me to Florida. Take me to Disney, something that's familiar. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are Dalvin Cook deserves to be paid, and I will tell you why right after this. We're back in 2 minutes.
Jalen and Jacoby is brought to you by Corona Extra. Fine.
We're apart these days. We're sharing more. So, at Geico, we'd like to say thanks. Thanks for sharing your savage dance moves. Thanks for sharing your DIY haircut fails. Thanks for sharing your inner lip sync star. Now, it's our turn to share with the Geico Give Back. A 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers. Because we're committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for more info and eligibility.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, we engineered an entire segment where you decide what we discuss. It is called Keep It Moving. So, if you would like to discuss the topic, say hit the brakes. If not, me and Method Man jump in the minivan and keep it moving. First up, Dalvin Cook wants more money. Keep it moving or hit the brakes. Dalvin Cook says he will not participate in any team activities until he gets a reasonable contract. Jalen, will he get paid?
I'm going to throw another name out there to consider in a conversation like this. Alvin Kamara, both of those elite type backs haven't gotten their big deals just yet because they're playing on rookie versions. Both have shown to be the bell cows for their team. Dalvin, obviously more physical, more 3-down-ish. But Kamara proved that he can be as such, especially once they lost Mark Ingram. He didn't have a great year last year. Both of them guys have dealt with some injuries. Dalvin Cook has dealt with injuries more. But here's the difference. Alvin Kamara is on the team that is pass happy. Dalvin Cook is on a team that's run happy. They need to find a way to pay him his bread because they already got the discount, just like Dallas did with Dak Prescott.
That's a good point. Next, Carlos Hyde has some strong words for the National Football League. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes. Ohio State Buckeye, I want to hear what he got to say.
Let's listen to Carlos Hyde.
I think the NFL gets started by signing Cap back. I think if they sign Cap back, that'll show that they really trying to move in a different direction. Cap was making a statement 4 years ago about what's going on in today's world, and the NFL didn't bother to listen to him then. So I think they should start by doing that.
I'm going to take it even further. You don't even have to sign him to a deal. Invite him to a camp. Give him a shot to earn a deal. He hasn't even gotten that yet. Do you think the NFL is going to sign Cap?
How about do a sincere video? Here's PR 101. And duplicate the one that the 12 or 14 players did NFL. And don't just sit Roger Goodell in front of a camera reading a teleprompter like Dabo did when he was reading down at the newspaper. Okay, have him straight look at the camera and tell us his message with no gray area.
Jalen, Major League Baseball has a new proposal. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
They're going to play baseball. You and I both know it. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving.
Keep moving.
We keep it moving.
Bad news for the Spurs. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
LaMarcus Aldridge, he got to get surgery. The Spurs, it's going to be the first time in 20-plus years they didn't make the playoffs. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving.
Keep moving.
We keep it moving.
Bob Myers of the Warriors said something pretty shocking. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
I got love for him.
Here is what the general manager of the Warriors said. He said, quote, "One of my favorite parts of sports is it's colorblind and a meritocracy of sorts. You don't get judged by how you look. You get judged by how you perform." Now, Jalen, I understand what he's trying to say, but he said it in the wrong way at the wrong time.
I love Bob Myers, and I'm going to hit him up on the text because I got his number in my phone. Let me tell you something, white people. Sports is not a meritocracy. A locker room is not the melting pot that the world needs to copy. I'm tired of these cliches being spouted, Jacoby. There can't be a meritocracy when you own the land, you own the team, you're the president, You're the general manager. You're the head coach. And we're just allowed to play and we're on salary. That's not a meritocracy. We're not picking the roster. We're not picking the backup quarterback. If it was, guess what the 1,300 players in the NFL would have done? They would have gave Colin Kaepernick a job.
You're right. And another GM said he was wrong about one of his stars. We'll tell you who that is right after this. In 2 minutes, we're back.
You got to give the people time. Give the people what they want.
Jalen and Jacoby is brought to you by Corona Extra. Find your beach.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, Daryl Morey says he has let James Harden down by not surrounding him with the right players to win a championship. I feel the other way. Do you remember when the Rockets missed 27 straight threes to lose Game 7 against the Warriors? They let Daryl Morey down. That's how I feel about it. How do you feel?
They've been a top 2 or 3 team in the West the last few seasons. The difference is they ran into the Spurs, they ran into the Warriors. Now they have Russell Westbrook. Let's see if they can make a run in this abbreviated season.
I would love to see them make a championship run inside the bubble in Orlando. Thank you so much for tuning in to Jalen and Jacoby. Do not forget to subscribe to the podcast. Dan Le Batard. With the right coach, NBA teams go from good to great. Just like real help from your State Farm agent can make all the difference in protecting what matters most. And I think that this time more than ever, we've seen great leadership from some of the greatest coaches in the history of the NBA. One, we experienced during The Last Dance, Phil Jackson. Just what it took to guide that team spiritually, not just with the X's and O's of the triangle, but he had to connect to them on a personal level. And we also have a gentleman like Greg Popovich, who has addressed issues bigger than basketball in the last week. And he's done so with poise, with wisdom, been articulate, and he's been a true leader, especially for people like me, white people, during this unrest in our nation. Well, talk to a State Farm agent today about combining your home and auto insurance and get a teammate and a coach who can help guide you through whatever life throws your way, just like Jackson and Popovich did. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Time to do some exclusive podcast content. I wanted to put this in the show, but we just didn't have time. The Knicks, you'll never believe this, have made a statement against racism, Jalen Rose. Can you imagine that? They're against racism in 2020?
I don't know if I've given this history lesson on this program, but if I did, then that's why you have books. That's why you have Google, because you can hear things multiple times until it gets in everybody's brain. I love Bob Myers of the Golden State Warriors, and he came out recently, talked about loving sports because it's the ultimate meritocracy. Mm-hmm. I see people time and time again saying, I wish society mirrored what takes place and the togetherness that happens in the locker room. If you believe that, I got some swampland for sale in Detroit for you. So let's get this right. It's equal when you own the land. You own the team. You're the president, you're the GM, and you're the coach, but we get to play on salary. We don't pick the rosters. We don't decide who you draft. We don't decide if the team moves cities because they didn't get an ordinance. We don't decide who gets to buy and sell teams or when that happens. So therefore, just like snitching, just like hating, certain small market, certain terms that people use that just make me cringe when they're using them wrong, that's one of them. No doubt about it. That whole entire overture. Let me tell you something. If what Drew Brees said, he was the 53rd person on the roster and the third string quarterback, and Michael Thomas was unhappy with it, you know what they would have did that night? They would have cut him. That's what they would have did. They would have cut him. But since it's Drew Brees, you know what? We'll give him a chance to think about it. And you know what? Allow him to grow. And again, I'm not for the cancel culture. I don't mind Dabo to keep speaking and wearing shirts that say football matters. I don't mind it. That doesn't bother me. I like to know where people were coming from. I remember being at my sushi spot, looking at the polls and thinking, oh man, no way this other guy's going to win. No way 45 is going to win. And then all of a sudden I realized people didn't have bumper stickers. They didn't put things on their lawn. They just went in and voted. Same thing here. I don't mind for people to let us know what they're thinking. We can try to educate them. We can try to work and sing Kumbaya. But as a black person, I'm 47. I can't take 5 steps and be explaining to white people why slavery set us back 500 years and why we've been oppressed. I can't do it. I don't have the energy. I don't have the patience. It gets you mad. Imagine, Jacoby, every time the most painful thing in your life, in your heritage, you had to discuss it all of the time. And you had to explain it to people. And like it's just not in front of their face. Google Emmett Till. Google it. Google it. You ain't learned that in school? There's a reason why they gave us a month. There's a reason. Black History Month. Because y'all got the other 11. There's a reason. And so, like, I appreciate having Killer Mike, Kareem, Dame Lillard, Snoop, DeAndre Hopkins, all knowledgeable people that more than just entertain. We're not here for your entertainment only. We're not here for your labor. The only sports and the only place that – now, let me tell you what's a reverse meritocracy, Bob Meyer. There are only 2 places on the – and correct me if I'm wrong. Is there any places besides the NBA and the NFL where blacks are the highest paid? Did I miss something? You can name whatever profession you want.
I am sure there are because we've never been factually correct when listing things.
I'm just saying, 98%.
Sure.
98%. Any profession, like you look at, when you go to the store, you look at any company. When you go to Whole Foods, you guys that's fortunate enough to live in suburbs, we don't own none of those companies. We don't own a store either, or the real estate, or the car we drive, or the shoes that we wear, the clothes that we wear, or the streets that we live on.
I think that one thing that is interesting is people discuss diversity hires, right? And that's something that we need to change. We need to change diversity. But I think, in my experience, and there are some numbers that back this up, that diversity hires really happen at the lower level of companies. You know, people really love those diversity hires to be at the low to mid level of their company. And what really needs to happen is the C-suites need to be as diverse as every other level of the company.
Fam, 40 million people have lost their job under our commander in tweets during this pandemic. And let me tell you something. The people, usually black and brown, that made $40,000 or less, not only do they lose those jobs, they're not getting them back. This whole idea that such and such owns the big company, and even though they have 100 employees, he'll lay off 50 now, and when he gets the government bailout and everything goes back to normal, he's going to hire those 50 back. No, he's not. That is not how this works. The person that laid off those 50 going to hire back 5. And now that 45 becomes that he's not hiring becomes the new budget. That's how this works. And so all of those people.
I think there's also bias during this pandemic when it comes to what an essential worker is, because I think that people talk about essential workers, and I think there's this stigma that the essential worker is a doctor, you know, and the essential worker is a policeman or a fireman. But when I go to the grocery stores, there's a lot more people that look like you working there than look like me. And when I order delivery food, a lot of people that knock on my door, they're people of color. I'm going to say every single delivery food order I have gotten during the entire pandemic, not a single one has been delivered by a white person. Now, I understand. I live in Manhattan. I live in New York City. Not everyone's situation is going to be the same, right? I get that. But I think that when we talk about essential workers and the people that are exposing themselves to the coronavirus as part of their job are the hardest hit community by the coronavirus, which are people of color and underprivileged people. And I think a lot of people just look they think about a white doctor when they do that.
And people, to pull you guys behind the curtain, what you guys get a chance to really hear is a lot of pain, a lot of communication between two brothers that we just speaking into a microphone. And I just have to say this. I've been friends with you for 10 years doing this show. That was the most profound thing you've ever said. That was the most
What about-
profound thing you have ever said. I need somebody to clip that. That needs to live as coming in and out of our television show. That needs to live coming in and out of our social media. What you just said is exactly right. Do you know what you just said and how profound what you just said was?
No, I didn't actually feel that profound, to be honest with you.
Oh, it was. It was. Do you remember the topic?
Essential workers.
Because what you said, correct. What you just said is the systematic racism that trickles down from the school system. I just graduated 80 scholars at JRLA. Congratulations. We've had 9 years, 6 graduations, graduated about 450 scholars from high school, have graduated 12 in the last 2 years from college. Our 9 through 16 model is working for young people 14 to 22 that aren't considered cute and cuddly by society. And so you living in Manhattan shouldn't just mean the black and brown people are working. It should mean that people that have money have now put themselves in a diverse audience like Manhattan represents. Yeah, black and brown is the minority living there, but there are a lot that live there. I've had a place there. I know. But you said what percentage of people that were dropping off food were black and brown? What percentage?
In the past 3 months, I've ordered a lot of food. Not a single white person has rung my doorbell.
How many white? And for those that you might be hearing us for the first time, David Jacoby, lovely wife, 3 lovely kids. They're ordering food.
Yeah, that means you don't got to cook.
Like this is the real case study. You know what I'm saying? And from diverse places. You know?
Oh, yeah.
From diverse places. Got
every
kids
ethnicity
that want
food.
Stuff, adults that want stuff. Kids have orders now. You know, each kid, I don't want cheese. I do want cheese. Everybody got an order. And so what you just said is systematic, Jacoby. We're not allowed to own the establishment, but we're allowed to work and put our health at risk in order to feed people in Manhattan. That's what makes it profound.
And the chances of us getting the disease are exponentially higher. And the chances of us being affected by the disease is exponentially higher. And one of the reasons that the chances of us being affected by the disease is exponentially higher is because pre-existing conditions, which are the result of the living conditions, which are the result of 400 years of oppression. It's not that clean of a line to line, A to B, but it's pretty close.
So that's why I like being able to go deeper into the box score, because the systematic. So here's something. I want to make sure I say this on TV. I'm saying it on this podcast.
Well, we're on a podcast right now. So this is the warm up. This is where you're working material.
Okay. No, for real. No, this just came to me. The system isn't broken. It was built this way. That's the disconnect. So to the oppressed, oh, this is broken. We got to fix. To the people who've got the privilege, I don't see nothing wrong. Well, I don't see nothing wrong. We got a problem here? Like Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying? We got a problem here? And so, yeah,
what if we gave y'all a month? What if we gave y'all a month? We good? If we give y'all a month? February? We good?
I love you
Does
so
that
much. No, I'm not going to be able to do it. Here's what'll fix it. Reparations. Let's start there. Harriet on the 20s. Let's start there. How about every company that the majority of the black people that create the equity get a chance to actually share in it and make ownership decisions? How about people who buy and sell, in particular to the black community, the urban community, the culture, also invest in it? I'm seeing a lot of checks. And David Jacoby, I seen you, bloody nipples at all, run a marathon for JRLA to raise money. And I seen you save us in the lightning round on Family Feud to raise money for the school. You're not a black guy. And 90% of our donors aren't black. But 90+% of our students are. There are some white people, non-black and brown people that are a part of the solution. So I want people who are now being awakened by this firestorm of the movement that has started with so many people. I don't want to leave people, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. And I just have to say this. There are law-abiding police officers out there. But we was talking about this before those couple of deaths happened. Jacoby, do they not see people marching in the street for 14 straight days? Why am I seeing somebody in Tacoma, Washington that got killed at the hands of the police saying I can't breathe again? Why am I still seeing these images of them still killing people and harassing people?
I mean, the gentleman in Louisville, I think I have his name right, David McAtee, who had the barbecue, and he would give police officers free barbecue, and he was shot at a protest. And then, I don't know if you know this little detail. Do you know what happened to all the body cams of those police officers?
They were
turned off. They were turned off at that moment. They all were turned off. Some sort of coincidence, huh? That's a coincidence. Body cam is supposed to stop things like this from happening.
This is painful for any American. This is really painful for any taxpaying citizen. If you care about humanity, if you just if you just give a damn, just think about this. These people are hired to protect and serve us. In almost every one of these cases, Jacoby, they flat out lie on the police report.
Mm-hmm. That guy in Buffalo, he fell over.
Flat out lied on the police report. So the revolution being televised is because of cell phones and the internet and the mobilization of social media. Now it needs to be about white thinking and change, in particular, the brutality that's taking place time and time again at the hands of law enforcement by officers.
We'll be back tomorrow. Why's that?
We're not done. We're not done. We're not done.